All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Rushi, and I'll be hosting this session on security without compromise. Right document, right device, right person. Before we get into the topic, let me notify our viewers that this is an interactive webinar, which means if you have any questions for us, please send them our way and we will try to answer all of them during the session. And now, with that, let me introduce our experts for today. We've brought together a mix of perspectives here, from product to development and training. So we can look at security not just from one angle, but across how it works in practice. Mikhail has been deeply involved in educating partners and customers at MyQ and brings a strong understanding of how these solutions are used day by day. Matush has been very close to security at the development level.
The warrior.
Yeah, he'll help connect some of the concepts we're gonna discuss today to how they're actually implemented and what's behind them. Yana brings the product perspective and with experience across development and support, which is key when we talk about security. I'm Rishi. I am the content marketing manager at MyQ, and I'll be guiding the conversation today, helping to connect everything from a communication and practical point of view. So, security. Security is something most organizations are already investing in. But when it comes to document workflows, things are often less clear in practice. Printing and scanning are part of everyday operations, yet they don't receive the same level of structure as compared to other parts of IT. And that's where a lot of gaps start to appear. Now when we look at the document workflows in practice, this is where we typically see things start to break down. It's usually not one big issue that results into a breakdown, but it's combination of multiple small things that come together, and that sometimes creates the gaps that appear in the workflow. Let's talk about where the security breaks down. Okay, starting with access, authentication is not always consistent. In some cases, users can still interact with devices without strong identity verification. That's a gap. That creates uncertainty around who is actually accessing those documents. Then there is output. I'm pretty sure we all have been through this, that even when the system is tight, secure, documents are physically still exposed and they're left at the device. Printed files are left unattended and picked up by the wrong person sometimes, which can create a huge loophole if you think about it. Then comes visibility. In many environments, auditability is limited. It's difficult to clearly track who printed or scanned what, where, when. Where did it originate? Where did it end up? It's often a gray area, and that becomes a problem during audits or investigations because you cannot track that. And finally, workflows. Security is often applied inconsistently, as I mentioned before. Different steps in the process have different levels of control. This creates gaps across the workflow rather than a single structured approach, which should be the case actually. The key point here, remember, is these are not isolated issues. Although they're different issues, they're all connected, bringing up the vulnerability that we have in security. Let's see what has changed though. Security expectations today are very different from what they were before. I'm sure you guys know about that. We're no longer working in fully centralized environments. Hybrid work has become standard, which means users, devices, data are no longer in one secure place. At the same time, cloud adoption is increasing like there's no tomorrow. More systems are connected, more data is moving across these environments. Alongside that, compliance requirements are becoming stricter. Organizations are expected not just to secure systems, but to demonstrate the security is in place. It's not just about the end, but it's also about the process. And this is where document workflows come into focus. Printing and scanning are not just operational tasks anymore, they are a big part of audits. Document workflows are now audited. So the expectation has shifted. it's not just about security, it's about being able to prove it across the entire workflow. And so when security breaks down, it's not because one feature is missing, it's because security is not applied consistently across the entire workflow. So at MyQ, we address things slightly better way, differently, I would say. And to talk about that, I would bring to your attention Mikhail. So let's talk about security and authentication.
Right. Now, one thing we have to start with definitely is when we talk about a security and authentication, the crucial thing is to know the identity of our users. Simply, we cannot work with the security if we don't know who works with the documents, who send it out, basically who owns that.
Yeah.
Because the whole security is about getting the right files to the right place and only to the rightful owner. So when we start with that, we first need to be able to detect who the owner is. And as part of that, there could be different ways starting on the level where we're actually implementing the solution. So having some customer database like Enter ID in place is actually the best way, simply because of the fact that we will get identities of all the users, we'll get them in the system, and more importantly, we're not doing the authentication against our solution, but our solution is not basically keeping any data, but it's actually authenticating against that third-party component, which then approves or disapproves the actual login. So that will be a crucial thing at the whole thing, just to know who is there, who's working with the machine, and how we can authenticate that. Then, of course, it comes to the whole process, which will be also explained by my colleagues later, because it's not only about the user, but also at the documents being in transfer, documents addressed. But at the end of that, because now we know the identity of the user, we know it from the print job, or we can use another application like the mobile application on your phone.
Yeah.
It's like for example, if you're printing from your phone, you can use the standard ways of authenticating if that if that device would not be managed.
Yeah.
So another good way, as we've already mentioned about the third-party authentication service, is to have a managed device. And that way we can also track who's using that device, who's actually sending that file, even from these endpoints using the conditional access and additional stuff. And that way, that mobile phone now, for example, I'm just using the mobile phone, but there are, of course, different ways, a different option, different means of how to authenticate. But that mobile phone, especially if I would be now a little bit more specific, if we'll be talking, for example, about the Roger, the mobile application can actually be your authentication token.
Yeah. Okay.
Meaning you have additional level of authentication, because using a simple PIN these days can no longer be trusted and should be replaced by something stronger, something better.
Yeah, definitely.
And especially that's the reason I use the Roger as an example.
Yeah.
Because if you will have that already mentioned Entra behind, that's from Microsoft where you've got all the users. Then you've got the mobile phone, which is controlled by your Azure, by your conditional access. So the user will not be able to put there anything you don't want them to be in that device.
Definitely,
It can be controlled through the conditional access through the, for example, Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator if you are using the Google Workspace environment. So that could be additional methods, which means that when you are at the device, you're not using a simple PIN or a card which someone could have guessed or steal it from you, but you will have a multiple level of authentication steps on your mobile phone. Because it checks within the database, it can use your Face ID, and the third one, it authenticates against MyQ, where, for example, the QR code we use on Roger is a dynamic one. So no one can get a copy and use it later, because simply in a couple of minutes, that code they have seen on a device will not work.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So one of the important things about the authentication and security is also to make sure that all the things you use to authenticate your users are still valid, constantly controlled and checked. So it's not only about determining the user and then let him authenticate by PIN. There could be multiple different steps in between that will allow me to really make sure that this is the person who sent the job or who has access to other components of the system. Because these days, it's not only about just printing, but more importantly, about working with all the documents. Because especially in MyQ, when we're working with different OneDrives, Google Drive, or different cloud storages, SharePoint, by authenticating into device, you're actually getting quite a lot of rights and access rights to all different locations.
Yeah, it's too
So
many
having that properly
access points.
secured
Yeah, yeah,
is
yeah.
crucial.
Yeah, I mean, the whole system is only as secure as the weakest point.
Exactly.
Hey, nice.
So, in many cases, many organizations, they maybe don't think necessarily as the printer,
Yeah.
as the potential weak point. But it is,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's nowadays it's integrated into the system, and the user accessing the device through the device or through other means, they have access to other systems, to wherever their important data is.
Yeah.
So authentication, that's the key. That's
Yeah.
what that would basically increases the security of the entire system and the data storages themselves.
Yeah. So that basically summarizes what I
Yeah.
wanted to say. And one point, when it comes to that authentication, it always ends at the user. So we just would like to have that control and give as as little as possible to get that interfered or modified by someone. Right, I will just pass it over because I will be speaking here for hours. You know me, I'm always like that. Jana is same, so same situation will
But
happen.
we can
when
give it
she
away
will
to
speak.
Jana, I think. Jana, you can tell us more about document integrity then.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the next step after authentication is then the transfer of documents and making the documents and the data and the contents of the documents secure, where especially in the era of driving digitization workflows. And the whole topic about digitization, I think maybe might be even since the COVID era, where it's driving even further all these efforts and investments of organizations to digitize. It's not a technical topic only. It's a whole process. It's a whole workflow, and it's a regulated process. So you need to achieve a quite tight environment, as you mentioned in the beginning. The environments are nowadays not centralized, but you need to try to have some oversight and overview over what's happening in the whole ecosystem, wherever the data is, wherever the users are. So this is one of the key points that MyQ helps. And regarding document integrity, the first step after authentication is to tie the document to the person. The identity must be clear. There must be clear ownership of the document. Then when it comes to delivery of the document, we think that, of course, nowadays, exactly when the environment is huge, the most secure document workflow is the shortest one. That's why, for example, when it comes to MyQX, where the on-premise solution is very much deployed in strict environments, we try to achieve it in a way that the data we are working with are always still the organization's data. They do not travel anywhere else. Even if you scan to cloud, for example, it goes from the device to MyQ, where it pauses just briefly, and then we deliver it straight to your SharePoint, to your OneDrive.
It doesn't stay. It doesn't stay. Yeah.
It doesn't
yeah,
stay.
yeah.
There's no middleman.
Yeah.
Depending on your workflow, sometimes you need it to stay for some additional processing. It depends on the whole process as you design the environment and
Yeah.
your requirements, of course. But the clear ownership and accountability, the short path without middlemen during the processing, and of course logging. And it's not only about logging from the technical point of view, but logging certain user, certain action at the right time and what was happening at some time. So then that helps overall with identifying issues along the path. If the document processing is not correct and it's not happening in secure way, you can detect it through logging and auditing.
Yeah.
So the whole document integrity, that's a huge topic, of course, that we are looking into in MyQ. And all this is a whole package that helps you to create, as you can see, the last point, compliance-ready workflows. Because document handling is pretty much a regulated process.
All right. Matush, do you want to take the next one?
Well, I kind of listened to these two and how they went far beyond what they were supposed to say. So this slide kind of got obsolete because they said everything what I wanted to say.
Don't worry, I'll even repeat that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So yeah.
All right, Matush, then I think it's done for today.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Let's end up here. No, what they said is basically true. But you need to be authenticated. We are the days of the intra-trusted networks are gone. So everything is zero trust today. So you need to have the correct rights at the correct time, and you need to have everything authenticated. Everything needs to be auditable. You need to be able to see who and what, who did what and when. And basically, like Michal said, one of the greatest advantage of Roger was to introduce a mobile phone as a authentication device, because then we are not giving up any credentials that can be copied.
True.
You are no longer coming to the office just to type your password on a public screen where it can be copied by some camera or something like that. Now you are using your own phone with your own biometrics and logging in just by looking at your phone. And that is something that we've improved and focused on it on Roger so much. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Moving on. Security validation. Did they also speak about that, Matush?
No.
Thank God.
These
They left
two,
something. They left something for you.
These I have something to talk about.
Yes.
So we have focused on these topics so much on past few years. Basically, once we started doing anything public cloud related, we realized that we need to improve our GitOps and CI/CD processes internally as well as externally. So what we started doing immediately was regular penetration testing, for example. We are now communicating with the local agencies here in Prague or in Czech Republic, and they are doing a penetration testing regularly on our products. We now even included our on-prem solution. The X is now included in the penetration testing because you have to think, even though that the X is an on-prem solution, it can be installed in libraries, in schools, or even in government places. And we or in Azure, yeah. So we wanted to put some white hackers into that and to let people know that we are focusing on security even in this area. With the proactive vulnerability detection, that's something that I think everybody's talking about right now. With a lot of leaks in the open source that were done in the past years, we have started monitoring our chain, our software chain, that we now need to know if a leak happens, we need to know about that sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
So we have included that into our CI/CD and also many other validations. So we are using even AI to validate our solution and to confirm the practices are done correctly by all of the developers. And yeah, that's it.
All right. That's actually quite, yeah. Well, you guys covered intensely. Let's move on because I can already start seeing some questions. But I have a question for you before that, Michal.
Uh-oh, shall I be afraid?
Well, let's see. Since I'm hosting this for the first time and you have done that for 15 years, how do you think am I doing? Will I graduate from Michal's School of Hosting Webinars?
Actually, do you think I'm the right one to judge that? I believe that's for the audience, not for me.
Fair enough.
I believe it's going pretty well, but it's the audience who will judge in the end.
Guys, spam us, I guess. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to stop the presentation and you guys will see us and we're going to address some of the questions that we have today in front of us. The first one is for you, Michal.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. How does the solution implement on an identity-first security model?
And now I understand why you choose that one for me. Basically, it's kind of what I've been talking about as part of my slide. So identity first, it was already mentioned. We need to know who works with a document. We need to know that it's not some kind of an imposter. It's the actual owner of the job. So we need to know, being able to detect when you are, for example, printing, that you are the user who prints that you have the right to not only print to that system, but to access a certain device, to access certain feature. So we really have to be able to determine if this is the user, if it's the right user, and for that we've got a different means. We can get it from your system. We can get it from some of our applications, which can be on a client, which can be on either mobile phone or some laptop, or on the, what they called, tablet.
Tablet. Oh, you have one. It's right
Yeah,
there.
that's exactly that. And I was thinking like, what you have there now. I'm just joking. So technically, important thing is to be able to know who you are and to have additional ways to prove that. So that's why additional authentication models and stuff are in place in all applications.
Okay.
So I would say it like that. And it's again not only about printing; it's also the scanning, different sources. And again, now with the implementation of a cloud with different options, we really must be certain that it's the right user that will get access to all the files, because it's not only about the personal files. It could be about the identity of the company, some resources which should not be public.
Or internal documents, or
Well, basically internal documents. So having that under control and knowing who works with my system is crucial.
True.
Same way it was like Matusz mentioned, to even if we let the user in, to be able to audit what the user has done in a system. Because it's not only about that level, like I am the common user, but also about the level I'm the admin. I've been given extra rights. And in that moment, it's even more important to really be sure that that user with that elevated level of rights
can not handle it, but
we should know that this is the right user. And like you mentioned, the auditing, we should know what they have done in the system. Because every system is as strong as its users. Because if someone will, even, I don't want to say intentionally, by accident, will change certain stuff, it may harm the system. And we need to know what happened to be able to revert it, to be able to fix it, and potentially, if that was not accident, but it was done intentionally, to track it back and potentially,
I will
before
insert,
the consequences.
I will insert one note about the prevention, because sometimes I feel like it's the best way how to let's say tie the system or monitor the identity as it goes through the system, and also limit some exposure of unwanted access points. Is the first permission system, and basically what the users are not supposed to see, they shouldn't see. With, for example, the recently introduced printer provisioning profiles into my UX.
As gladly we call it 3P.
3P.
Shout out to Mark.
Yeah, okay, shout out Mark. Okay, I'll call it 3P to honor this name. So with printer provisioning profiles, the idea is that you deliver only the right print queues, so the printers on the end user client, only the right ones that they are supposed to see, and they're supposed to print from where they are. So that's also the identity-based deployment of printing. Similarly to based on the based identity of the device as well. In fact, because the device moves, so you can kind of automatically provision and only show and let the user to have access only to what they need, based on the identity as the key role.
Definitely
in this mode.
Sorry for the interruption, but just wanted to highlight one thing. Because I know you've got some questions already collected from the campaign you put on social media.
And we see some coming here,
Yeah, and that's what I would like to highlight. For those of you who has not done that already, in a case that you would have any question, please feel free to use the Q&A, which is part of this webinar, and ask away. Ask your questions, and we will be able to answer most of those, I believe, because now we have a lot of time to do so. So if there is any question on top of those Rushi already has from the campaign, we will also focus on those in the Q&A session.
Okay.
Sorry for the interruption. Just thought that it might be interesting.
Quick disclaimer in between. Yeah. Never harmed anyone.
Of course.
So Jana, this second question is for you. Okay. We get questions about paperless office, right? And building replacement scanning workflows. Are these possible with MyQ? All right.
That's a good question. Definitely belongs here. We already spoke about the document integrity, which is the crucial point. But first, I will briefly, I will try to do it briefly, explain the term replacement scanning, because this is something that we've been, as I mentioned, looking into, not only recently, but now actively. Replacement scanning, that's a set of processes that host end result is supposed to be the paperless office,
Yeah.
or like the trend of getting rid of paper documents and focusing on digital materials. But this is a regulated environment, especially in some industries. So the replacement scanning is also regulated. For example, the German regulations, or in France and the European Union overall, has been pretty active about this. So there are local regulations that appear as times go, and we are focusing on these. We are trying to build and has already built some compliance solution in the past, of course, Mike UX and even Mike Roger, and the system and solutions that we built are supposed to help organizations in building these compliant workflows.
Right.
But for the regulated environments, this is something that we are focusing right now with the document capture and let's say the quality control, because that's what you are supposed to do when you are digitizing. You need to make sure that you are creating a copy which is equivalent to the original paper document, because the purpose of this all is to destroy the paper document and retain only the original, the digital copy. So yes, this is possible, but we will be expanding the portfolio in the future with other solutions that will help organizations to really make sure that
Move towards that direction, you mean?
exactly
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
towards the direction, and make sure that they do in fact comply with the actual regulations that apply to their markets.
Okay.
So yes, we are already ready in some areas, but we will be expanding
Getting
these
better.
solutions.
One question I see that it just came up and I want to address it is, what security certifications does MyQ have?
I wanted to interrupt with that because yeah, I saw that question.
See, great
And,
minds think alike, man.
I agree.
There was a second of delay there.
So MyQ is ISO 27001 certified, and
Also 14001.
yeah. Let me continue with the.
Sorry.
I'll let you finish what you have there. So what that means is that we are the software company highest level certified, at least in the Europe, and that is the goal of all of the European software companies, and we have achieved that several years ago. But it doesn't mean that we are not working on other certifications. So this is a topic that is discussed on the DevSecOps quite often for the past few months, and for this year definitely. We are definitely working on new certifications for US. We want to be SOC2 certified, and we are working on that right now. And we are also looking at the smaller certifications like HIPPA and all these smaller ones, which means that don't worry, we are not sleeping, and we are not hiding behind the ISO.
Yeah.
But we are working on more, and that's it. And now you can finish the list, because I know we have more certifications, but the 27 is one of the most
The
important ones.
I got like two, and I want to see, because I don't want to mess the numbers, right? So the another one is ISO 14001, which says that we are environmentally responsible, and we are working towards to reduce our footprint. And the next one is ISO 9001, which makes sure that like the quality control is always top notch, and we would never compromise on those things. Next question I'm getting is for Matush. How do you integrate security checks into CI or CD pipelines without slowing down development velocity?
Without slowing down the development.
Yeah.
Oh,
Tricky one.
that.
I have to be honest,
it
there's
possible?
big
Certainly a
words.
tricky one.
So the development velocity isn't all only described by the CI/CD, right? So we do slow it down quite significantly, but we are working with the development hand in hand. So you need to find the right balance, and that's what in current trends is called shifting left. So basically, we are introducing security not as an afterthought, but we are introducing it into the life cycle of the development. So some of the security checks are run on your IDEs when you're coding, when you're doing stuff. They are already highlighted to you and proposed. Then we have other stuff that you need to distinguish between two metrics. One is to fail fast, and second one is to basically fail only after a certain amount of time that is not as important. So for the criticals, if something would be passed into the code, you need to fail fast, right? So those are the things that you cannot minimize on. So it means that yes, these will slow down, but at least prioritize what you're running immediately after the commit and what is run every night, every 2 weeks, and after the release. Okay. Because the release cycle is not that fast, right? So we usually try to release every so often, but we are not releasing every day. Okay. So we can slow down, but not that much. Because like I said, we are working with the development team hand in hand, and they are talking to us. If something is taking too long, they will try to skip over it. They will try to bypass the checks. So we need to give them something else. So for example, we have slowed down the CI/CD, but we have given them a very easy solution to run the automation test or to run the whole cluster and to create a cluster. And as a whole process, the whole development process, you have to balance it. So
okay. Next one is for Mikhail again.
Sure. All right. Let's go for it.
Because I think you would be the right person to talk about this.
Just arguing.
Or if anyone wants to. How is shadow printing and guest access managed?
Two completely different things.
Tell me more.
Now, we'll be basically getting to the basics of MyQ.
Okay.
Like, we would like to really protect who has access to the whole system. So, if we'll be talking about a shadow printing, it's about actually controlling who has access to the system. Mm-hmm. Simply, we don't want anyone to print to the devices that should be controlled by the system.
Okay.
Yeah, so because one of the things why MyQ would be implemented in a company, it's not only about managing the document workflows, managing where it can land, but also preventing someone who is not allowed to be able to use that equipment to be able to access
privacy,
the data.
Yeah.
So the shadow printing is something everyone who basically uses such a solution is trying to avoid as much as possible.
Okay.
There could be some different ways of how to do that. Like with the embedded terminal, most of the embedded terminals, we can actually block what's happening on our devices. Or we can go deeper and, for example, use some IP filtering, which will be some, let's say, the very basics of the stuff. Then we can go actually deeper by making sure that the users and the devices on which they work, they cannot communicate directly. And that can be actually applied for both of our solutions.
Right.
So if you look, for example,
at... and for MyQ
yeah, of course. And now, if you don't mind, if you still have the time, I'll try to briefly explain them both.
Please.
So if we start with the MyQX, the simplest way is that we're not actually using the Microsoft Windows queues or any other system queues. Oh, we do, but in a different way than they were originally designed. Because when you print from MyQ, you print from your computer or from your laptop, notebook, whatever you use, directly to the MyQ server, which collects the system, collects the job, the data, stores them, and then when you access the device, it will release them.
Okay.
So the first level might be that you will completely separate the VLANs where the users will be and when will be the devices.
Right.
So no one can actually, even if it is an advanced user, they will not be able to access it because there's no communication in between the VLANs, and the only one who actually releases the job when the user authenticates at a device is the server.
Okay.
So basically that will be like I would say physical, but a barrier which the user will not be able to bypass.
Yeah, okay.
Even better, it's done in Roger. Because one of the ways how Roger can handle your print jobs is that you're uploading the jobs to your cloud storage. Should it be the Google Workspace, or the Google Drive, or the OneDrive, or OneDrive for Business, it's up there. So up there in a cloud, in your personal cloud storage. So except for the Azure admin and you, nobody accesses the data. And how does that prevent the shadow printing? In a simple way, same thing. because the device will not be able to communicate with the network where the user's computers are. The only thing you have to do in the network where your printers and MFDs are is to make sure that those devices can reach the cloud, can reach your OneDrive, and that way nobody will be able to print to them and scan using them directly.
True.
The other part of your question was about the guest mode.
access, yeah.
That's a different thing because now we intentionally want certain things to be available either to public or to our guests. And again, both solutions are approaching that in a different way. Like in MyQX, you can, for example, dedicate special email address to which they will send a file, which then goes through the system, sends you PIN back to your original email, and you can release it.
Yeah.
I will not cover all of those, but again, my favorite Roger, because in Roger, the guest mode is actually handled really nice way with the print sharing. We've been having multiple webinars about the print sharing before, so you probably know what that is.
Yeah.
Just
The last one was about print sharing,
Yeah, I
wasn't
believe.
it?
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
No, I believe I did that, so I should know. Now, but what I wanted to highlight here is basically the print sharing is designed, for those of you who would not know, is designed the way that it will be no registration, no extra need to enter into the system. Meaning that will be a QR code on your device, which will be in some public place or in the office. You scan it with a phone, upload will load, you manage your files, and then leave, probably never come back, which can be also integrated with some payment providers, but that's a different situation. This is basically how you can allow your users to print as a guest.
Right.
Now, I believe I may announce that there'll be additional features in the future, or at least we want them, but maybe not. As I see Matush's face, maybe it's not yet the time.
It's not my place to say, but this is not the correct webinar.
Of course, it's not. It's not. No, sorry. My obsession with the Roger is not part of this webinar. So let's go for the question.
The picture in this slide, the first picture was actually from print sharing. There's there's a QR code and yeah.
You see, I'm not the only one.
Next one for you, Jana. What is MyQ planning in terms of Windows protected print and the planned print drivers obsolescence?
Question like a razor.
Yeah, this is a very common question for some time already. Of course, the shift towards IPP printing. I think like everybody from the industry, which I think the majority of the people know and get the updates about the industry and what's happening around the Windows protected print. They will know. So yes, we will be designing solutions for that in terms of supporting more, for example, the print options and the whole capabilities that you can utilize with IPP printing. Because currently, at least for example, for MyQX, MyQX is already protected print compatible. However, some of the print options might be limited right now because it's a complicated world of different vendors and hopefully IPP is standardizing this topic a little bit more. We are. As I can also hint, looking into it. It's on the roadmap for this year. Kind of expanding and advancing what we can deliver when it comes to the environments that choose to enable protected print. Because the rollout from the Microsoft side, there's a roadmap for it. They, for example, stopped accepting print drivers into Windows updates. Soon they will also prefer, in the order in Windows, they will prefer IPP printers. They will be at the top, when the user sees the list and chooses the printer they want to print to. So it's step by step, and we kind of follow this route as well. We go step by step, and with our upcoming MyQX release, there definitely will be some news. Everything will be. I'm almost sure this deserves its own webinar. When we have we already spoke about it a couple of times because this question comes up often. So when's the right time? I cannot wait, to be honest.
Okay. Next one is, sorry, were you saying something?
No, absolutely not.
Next one question is for you, Matush. How do you handle vulnerability disclosure when a critical CVE drops? What's the patching SLA and process?
Why am I getting the
You're a
the
security
complex
expert.
one? We have to distinguish between CV if it is based on our solution or on the chain. So if it is a chain, so that means that supply chain of MyQ was somehow compromised, then there is a tool that we are using, and the CV was addressed to. Or somebody has found a critical thing in my queue. So these are basically two different processes, but they both start with the same. So we have to do the impact assessment first, because not every critical is a critical to everybody, right? So whenever there is a CV reported for a chain, we analyze if it is a development chain only, or if it is a customer impacted solution, if it is only in some tool, or if it is in the whole process, whole solution, if it is in the print server or only central server. So you need to assess the impact, right? And sometimes we only put a disclosure that, yeah, we know about this, and we have assessed it, and nothing is impacted because, for example, we are only using this particular tool in a particular way that is not impacted by the CVE. And this was, for example, reason for dismissal of one of the most recent ones with the OpenSSL, because it only affected the clients, not the servers itself. And we are using it in a server, so that was fine. But we did have the impact assessment, and we called in the developers to explain to us how the tool is used, and then we came up with the disclosure.
Okay.
So, and with the MyQ own CVEs, basically the process is the same, but it really depends if the bug was found by our own lab or by somebody else. Of course, we have different SLAs with different licenses, I think. Yeah, so it again depends on the impact. And sometimes it's a quick fix. We will release a patch within a days. Sometimes it needs a complex
Takes some minutes, yeah.
solution. So we are always adhering to our SLAs in the licenses. And if the patch is available, for example, on the supply, we try to plan it as soon as possible. So, but yeah, it's not an easy process. So you need to analyze and figure out what are the correct steps. Sometimes it just means that, yeah, we know about it, it's fine, we are fully covered, and we don't need to do anything. But sometimes it means that, yeah, we are going to release a patch as soon as possible.
Okay. We are nearing, not there yet, but nearing towards the end of our time. But Matush, I just saw that you answered one question in the comments, right?
Yes.
Do you want to briefly touch on that?
No.
No. Okay.
No, yeah.
So when it was mentioned, you have to, sorry,
The question is about using a .NET 8 in our current solution. I replied that yes, we know that the end of life is near, but we are working already on the .NET 10. I have nothing confirmed because it's on the software side, and I only know about that because I've seen the development on it. If in the latest solutions. So
Okay.
I know we are moving to the .NET 10, but I have no ETA and anything.
Okay. One question. I think I'm gonna open the stage here for anyone who wants to talk about it. Are there any upcoming changes in the industry that will affect the scarcity?
Security.
Security, sorry, of document workflows, and how is MyQ addressing it?
I mean, I kind of spoke about it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
It's in some cases it's nothing new. Like for example, the regulations I was talking about, they're not necessarily new, but what takes long sometimes is the adoption. So something that we do not consider really new because it's been on the market for some time.
Right.
The more regulators and countries and markets start adopting it, That's when it has the biggest traction, I would
Right.
say. So, like for example, I mentioned the regulations, like the TR resistant for Germany. This is something that I've studied in the couple of like last time with the development team, of course. There are similar regulations all over the place. They will be appearing. It's very hard to pinpoint one because I think the trend is important, not necessarily specific regulations, because after all, they kind of follow the same guidelines, so you know, the same rules in a way. So I don't know if you can think, guys, if you can think of any specific change or shift that.
To be honest, nothing
Yeah,
that comes to
no.
my mind at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like over the efforts are continuous
Yeah.
at all times.
Yeah.
So it's never like the time that we would point out that one thing
Like,
and
big change now. It's constantly evolving, and we have to react on the market. That's
of course
basically.
what Microsoft is doing. That's also we covered. So you guys in the chat and in the Q&A, feel free to.
I have a remark in my notes here. Is like a security is a continuous improvement process. Yeah, we are not giving ourselves a milestone. We are giving only the metric.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so
right.
we need to always adjust to the current practices and all of that. So it's
Okay.
not something that is fixed and done. So
We got a compliment. The first one of the day. Okay, how about this? Let's do two last questions and we can call it a day. So,
Fire up.
first one, and it's up for grabs, okay? What is the life cycle of my data at rest and in transit? So, I know we talked about it, but is it just always quite brief, or are there some changes, or it's always in and out just as much as you need it? That's it.
That
So
could
that
be,
we can answer
yeah,
it
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. All right, cool.
There could be a lot of changes actually, depending on how would you like the system to be used, because there could be different components in the process.
Okay.
Like for example, as I believe was mentioned by Anna, when it comes to scans,
Mm-hmm.
where for example scans are always going through the server and then to the destination. We are not keeping them anywhere unless you will really like to have a copy of those.
Right.
When it comes to printing documents, that varies because that could be a lot of different ways how these both of our solutions can actually be used. So it could be stored on your computer, it can be stored in your private cloud, it can be stored
Anywhere. Yeah. In a storage
on
device.
the
Yeah.
network attached storage, which is part of your server.
Yeah.
So a lot of different locations, and for each of them there's a way to handle it and way to focus on the security. Like for example, when it comes to MyQServer, whatever you will put there, whenever you will potentially keep at the server till it's released, can be fully encrypted by a key that is generated by a file security, a certificate generated by the customer. So you can really be sure that whenever we work with the data, they're not left anywhere where someone will be easily able to access them,
Access it,
someone will
right.
be able to exploit them.
Right. Okay.
We're just trying to get rid of them as fast as possible.
So there's less
So
chance of like less possibility.
obtaining them,
Yeah.
and of course, if they have to stay, like for example, in a case of a pull print, logically they have to stay on the server till the user will authenticate and release them.
Yeah.
But make sure that the data are secured as possible. And like I said, it could be highly affected by the actual customer using that and the certificate they will apply to the system.
Okay.
I'll just make one slight amendment. And when Michal said that it's going always through the server, I think he forgot about Roger.
Yeah.
Because in Roger, the scans, in perfect scenario, they are going from the printer directly to your cloud provider, and we are not touching it. They are not
storing
routing.
it,
We are not
nothing.
storing. We are not routing it through our servers. It is better on the bandwidth also. So we are saving. We are
true.
saving some money, but we also do not want to look at your documents.
Yeah.
So sometimes with the Roger, you don't even need to. The documents don't even need to go through our servers.
Okay. Well, the second question was going to be about data thing and abandoned document vulnerability, which I think got answered in this question. So I think today we are good here. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Yep.
We can call it a day.
Your call.
Yes, it is. All right, guys. So
think so.
to
There's some questions, but I think like I can see like one from the partner, but that's maybe a little bit complicated to answer. So I think I know who this is, so I can reach out to him.
okay, perfect. So you'll get your answers in your own way then.
Yeah.
Okay. So to all the viewers today who joined us, thank you so much for being a part of it. Thank you for all these questions and the compliment. It really was a good session, and we will see you guys next time in the next webinar. Maybe same background. Well, okay.
Maybe same people.
Maybe
Who
same
knows?
people. If I
It's possible.
If you liked it, you know,
if I
give us
yeah
likes.
if I get
We'll put a vote on who is the best presenter.
Matusz, you won already.
all right guys.
All right.
Thank
have
you
a great
so
day.
much for your time. Have the great rest of the day and rest of the week. See you guys next time.
Thank you.
Thank
Archie.
you, thank you
Thank you.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you everybody.